the Ontario Association, the Canadian Association. Law enforcement was very strong.
That's the reason why we had to invoke the Emergencies Act, and we did so on the basis of non-partisan professional advice from law enforcement.
We wanted to be sure at bottom that we were giving law enforcement all of the tools and the resources that they needed.
It was only after police told us that they needed this special power.
We were following the advice of various levels of law enforcement, including the RCMP. We invoked the act because it was the advice of nonpartisan professional law enforcement.
After calling upon the police forces, we invoked the Emergency Measures Act.
I don't want to speak for every last serving member of law enforcement, but there was a very strong consensus that we needed to invoke the act.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in the Toronto riding of Eglinton-Lawrence. Now, Eglinton-Lawrence is the home riding to MP Marco Mendicino. Mr. Mendicino is also Canada's Public Safety Minister, and Mr. Mendicino is, well, a liar. I'm sorry, but there's no other way to sugarcoat it. Folks, you might recall that Mr. Mendicino said that police asked for the Emergencies Act to be invoked when the Freedom Trucker Convoy was in Ottawa. He didn't say it once. He didn't say it twice. He has said it more than a dozen times. Here, check out the video evidence.
We were following the advice of various levels of law enforcement. We invoked the act because it was the advice of nonpartisan professional law enforcement.
Only after police told us that they needed this special power.
But folks, here's the thing. There's just one teeny tiny hitch regarding Mr. Mendicino's comments, and it's this. Law enforcement agencies, ranging from the RCMP to the Ottawa Police Service, have stated that they never asked for the invocation of the Emergencies Act. Again, check out the video evidence.
Did the Ottawa Police make a request to the federal government to invoke the Emergencies Measures Act, yes or no?
So we were involved in conversations with our partners and with the political ministries. We didn't make a direct request.
Did you ask the government or representatives for the invocation of the Emergencies Act?
No, there was never a question of requesting the Emergency Act. There was a question.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm sorry. So you never asked for it. Do you know of any other police leadership that asked specifically the government for the invocation?
No, we actually reached out to various police agencies when there was talk about some of the authorities within that they were proposing, and of course we were consulted because we were the ones who would be using those authorities, so we were consulted to see if they would be of any use to police.
Oops! So now the spin cycle begins, and what spin we're hearing. For example, Mr. Mendicino's deputy minister, that would be Rob Stewart, said the whole thing, it was a misunderstanding that, quote, law enforcement asked for the tools that were contained in the Emergencies Act, end quote.
Our memories are very clear on this side of the House. The minister repeatedly stated that police recommended that the government invoke the Emergencies Act. Right. But now we know that not a single police force in this country made that recommendation. The minister has had multiple opportunities to clarify, but he stood by his statement. And now his deputy minister is saying, well, the minister was misunderstood. Who is telling the truth? The public safety minister or his most senior public servant?
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety. Mr. Speaker, I want to be absolutely clear that last winter, when we saw an unprecedented public order emergency in the opinion of law enforcement, we filled the gaps that existed within authorities which were not effective at the time to restore public safety. Prior to invoking the Emergencies Act, we sought the advice, as any responsible government would do, prior to invoking the Act. And you heard Commissioner Lucky say that we needed, for example, power to compel tow trucks as a result of protesters who wouldn't leave. I wonder why they wouldn't leave, Mr. Speaker. They wouldn't leave because Conservatives were egging them on to stay. That was wrong, and we invoked it to protect Canadians, Mr. Speaker.
That's a distinction? That's a clarification? No, that is more lies. Well, you know something, folks, enough is enough. We can't have the public safety minister and his minions lie and keep on lying about the Emergencies Act that was invoked and about how the rights and liberties and freedoms of law-abiding Canadians were stripped away. If you share our outrage about Mr. Mendicino and his outrageous lies, then please go to our new petition, which is simply firemendicino.com. That's firemendicino.com. And let this liberal liar know how you feel about him taking so many liberties with the truth. Oh, and by the way, we're not done here as of now. We know Mr. Mendicino hates truckers and hates trucks. Well, just wait till he gets a look at the truck we're going to bring here in the days ahead. Yes, folks, I'm talking about our famous Jumbotron-equipped truck. We're going to bring it into the riding of Eglinton-Lawrence for several hours, and we are going to tell all his constituents what a liar this man is. Once again, please go to firemendicino.com, and if you're able to, kick in a few bucks so we can pay the expenses of that Jumbotron-equipped truck that is going to deliver a message to Mr. Mendicino and the people who voted him in.